Well, hello gang. Probably never guess in 100 years what I've been up to. This 05 Kenworth W900 is going to require quite a bit of attention from us, but not a whole lot from you. This video is going to be about this truck and a few other things we got going on around here, and it starts right now. Well, all right, here it is, first thing the next morning. The boys are going to come through the door here any minute, and we're going to do what we always do with these trucks. We're going to wipe the whole thing down with thinner. We're going to take this guy apart, and we're going to get everything all masked up and ready to go. As you can see, here's what happened yesterday with the chassis. It's all cleaned up, ready to go. I'm going to get that guy, which we just finished up, pulled out of the shop and into the shop next door. And I'm going to be showing you throughout the course of this video some of the projects I was doing on the side while we were doing that truck. And some of them that I'm still working on the side while we're doing this truck. And of course, we'll include this truck, just not quite to the degree that you're used to seeing. This is more of a what goes on around here sort of video. So we'll be getting started here in a second. As you can see, this one's got some bad corrosion. Some of the worst I've ever seen on a door. Weird that this truck's only 19 years old with that level of corrosion on it. And we'll open up the hood and we'll have a look inside and we'll see how cracked up everything is and what all we got to do there. We'll be removing the mirrors like we always do. Painting it basically the same exact colors that it already is. And we'll be banging this one out in about 4 or 5 days. I've got this 2004 5600 Bobcat toolcat that I'm working on. The only reason that I am working on it at all is because I made a bit of a foolish error. And because of that, it sits right where it sits and I can't even move it. You see, I was trying to track down all of the relays and fuses, and there's a fuse panel, but there's some inline fuses that a person should look for, and then there's also relays. And there's a number of them, and relays in some pieces of equipment and vehicles are all in the same spot, and in some, they're just along the wiring. You just find them along the wiring, like up in the frame rails and stuff. And that's kind of the case with this. When I got to trying to track down wires, I noticed that there's just a whole mess of them that runs inside the frame rail, and then they run right up in here underneath the passenger seat. So I got down here, opened up this compartment, and I could see them up there, but I couldn't really get to them or mess with them. And so I knew I needed to get under the driver's side seat. So I went ahead and undid these bolts. There was only one bolt in place, and one was missing, which tells me that they had that seat up with some regularity. And so I thought, well, you know, I want to be able to get to those relays and see what kind of shape they're in. So I undid that one bolt and then just reached up there and lifted the seat forward. And it came forward about only 3 or 4 inches, maybe. And all of a sudden I just hear ping. It was just, it offered no resistance. It just all of a sudden ping. And I look, and this switch that goes in the armrest on this has to be down for anything to work. You can't travel, you can't raise the boom, you can only raise and lower the box. That's it with the armrest up. Well, in that sensor, there's one half of this sensor in the armrest and the other half of this sensor mounted to the seat. So when the armrest is down, it lets the sensor know that the armrest is down and we can go ahead and work. What I didn't realize is they put this on a super short leash. It's mounted from the bottom of the cab straight to the armrest in a strand of wires that barely has any slack in it. So like I said, I only lifted it 3 or 4 inches at the most before I heard that ping. And the ping I heard was the bottom of this switch breaking out entirely. It just busted the switch right in half. And this piece right here is the piece that the pigtail actually connects to. And it broke it right off. So essentially, it broke the molding of the switch dead in half. Instantly. And so I went ahead and added 2 full feet to it. And now the switch is clear out here like it should have been. So when you fold the seat forward, the switch can come with it. And the switch can come back. And so dum-dums like me in the future can lift the seat without busting the switch. Once that switch is broken, you can't do anything. I can't move this machine. Now it's just stuck here in the shop until I get that part coming. And you'd think, well, just put the switches back together. Just try and fool the switches. I can't. That switch is actually broken. When I did that, I did it right and completely broke the switch. So there is no bypassing it. You can't run a any sort of short from one wire to another, any sort of shunt from one wire to another. You can't cross the wires. You can't. I've tried everything. Believe me. I've bypassed so many safety systems in my life. Don't tell anybody about that. That I know exactly how to do it, and this one just isn't one of those you can do. There's a lot more computer controlled things in this one than an older piece of equipment or something more rudimentary. So as it turns out, I can't just fool it. I have to have that switch. So I put a big rush on it. This happened day before yesterday. I put a big rush on it, paid $50 extra to get that stupid switch here in 2 days, which means it should be here today. Okay, it looks like the right switch, or half of the switch. I would have thought, especially for that price, I mean, $80 for a switch. I'm not saying that's a ripoff. There's probably quite a bit of technology involved, but I would have thought there'd have been both halves of it. The half that this mates to, along with the magnet and everything that it comes with, you'd think that would all come as a match set instead of just half the switch. Didn't even have the nuts that go in there. Slip in there and there. So, well, I hope it works. However, here's what the dash looks like. That means the bucket's locked up, and that means the park and brake is applied whether I want it to be or not. Okay? And so now I've got the new switch plugged into the wire extension that I put on it this morning. Now you can fold the seat all the way up, and it's never going to do that again. The new switch is on there. Now I take the old other half of the switch. You have to put the magnet on the back side. This is a big magnet that goes on there. And then you have to mate them up. Like so. And when you do that, now it's ready to rock and roll. It still has that initial trouble light, and it's getting a little low on fuel, especially being tipped the way it is. But when I hold them together like that, that's gone. That's completely gone. So now that I know that this switch works, when I go to order all my other parts for this, I'm going to order another brand new switch. I'm going to try to see if they'll sell me both halves to the damn thing this time. And I'll just keep it as a spare, because this thing is dead in the water. If this switch goes out, you're just done. If you're plowing snow and you happen to be plowing snow out across the highway or something, and you go to back up and all of a sudden it dies and that switch is done, you're done. You can't even tow these things. You'd have to get a crane out there to lift them up and put them on a flatbed. You can't even tow them. So I don't think that that's a super good design idea myself. I mean, there's a lot I could brag about with this machine, but I'm in the process of restoring this machine now. And so you're going to see a lot of, well, this is too rusty and that's too this and that's too this, making it seem like I'm looking a gift horse in the mouth and complaining about this great deal that I got, when I'm not. I'm going through the restoration process, which means I'm butting my head against a brick wall of restoration numerous times. And I'm just bringing you along for that process. So it's going to seem like I'm bitching a lot along the way, but it's just me coming up against obstacles and figuring out ways around them. And now I've figured out a way around an obstacle that I created because I was stupid enough to not pay attention and just flip the seat forward. So, you know, bull in a china cabinet is what my dad used to call me. So that's just that. I can live with that. And now that the switch works, I can live with that too. But I'm going to bring you along for the whole process, the good and the bad. And a lot of it's not going to be that great because it's restoring a vehicle. There's a lot of decisions and a lot of elbow grease along the way. And this is just part of it. One of the next things we'll do is we'll add all this dirt to that corner, or we'll go ahead and get a level on it and see where we're at. And if it needs to come up further, we'll bring it up further. We'll do whatever we need to do. But I know we're starting to get close. It's starting to take shape. You'll be all right. It's just a scratch. Let's get back to it. All right, they're both cut down. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and get the saw to work here. Get these cut up into small enough pieces that they're bite-sized chunks, and get the brush piled where the brush will go, get the logs piled where the logs will go. Really, it's probably just going to end up drying out in a pile on the property and these logs from the trees that we've removed over time just end up being firewood logs after they've sat a year or so. So we just use them for our campfires, but especially around this size of tree. So that's where these are going to end up, and the brush will end up in a brush pile drying out and doing much the same. So we're getting some of this masking going in here. Got it all wiped down with thinner. Got it all taken apart. At this point, we're just working on masking. I'm not. These folks are. As for me, I'm headed out front here. Beautiful fall morning. It's only supposed to get 70 degrees today or something. And down here is my next project. Next few projects, actually. Yard spider. And the first of the projects I'm going to be doing is, and I'm going to take this around behind the shop where I do my sandblasting, and then I'm going to try and set these up somehow on pipe racks or something in a way that I can go ahead and get them sandblasted. And what this is a big like a gantry crane style frame for a shop hoist. And so when it's all done, it's got two sides that are both A-frame style, and then it's got this big piece of I-beam that you see sitting here in the center that goes between them. So it looks like a huge swing set, basically. But from the center of that I-beam hangs this hoist that can lift, well, the weights they can lift vary depending on how stout the unit is. And I don't see anything stamped on this unit, but looking at how stout it is, it could probably lift a semi off the ground. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get this sandblasted here and use some of these beautiful days we got coming up to do some outdoor painting while those guys are in there doing that. And then once that's all done and cured out, then I'm going to ever so carefully load it back on the trailer, just the way it is here. And the other two projects I have down here at the end of the driveway, which are right by there, and it's all just kind of packed down here, is I've got this old Peterbilt hood from a few projects ago that is absolutely shelled. I'm going to keep the fenders because I build garden beds out of them, but nothing else on here is any good. Nothing. It's absolutely fatigued. It's had it. So I'm going to pull these fenders off, probably pull those front braces off. I'll probably pull these mud flaps because they're in decent enough shape and they say Peterbilt on them, and so they could go on a number of 379s. And then I'm going to actually take a Sawzall and cut this to pieces. Bite-sized chunks, so to speak, so I can take it to the landfill and put it in their big metal container. They have a big metal recycling container you put all metals in, and that's where it's going to go. And as for this one, this is a composite hood. You can tell by how chunks have just broken out of it. It's just made of that. It's just made out of that injection molding composite junk, and so it's no good to me. But I am going to pull these because they're in great shape, and basically nothing else. And I'm going to cut it up with a Sawzall and haul it to a landfill as well. The particular guy that I'm doing it for wants it to look nice and wants it to be nice, and it's going to be in his shop forever and ever. And so they tore it down and brought it to me, and now I'm going to go ahead and, now that I've got it all stacked up on these pipe racks here, I'm going to go ahead and get it, all three of these components sandblasted, and that's after as you can see, I'm going to prop this end up probably even further and put it up on blocks so I can get around this easy. I'm going to do the same to the other end down here, prop that end up on blocks. And then I can get to all of these components easy, and I'm going to go ahead and blast them and probably paint them right back here. I don't want to have to move them around a bunch. And so that's what I'm starting on here this morning. And here we're getting the masking all taken care of. Got it all torn down. And now we're just working on some masking. Whew. All right. That took a little longer than I thought it was going to. But it's all done. Went from pretty darn rusty to shiny new steel. All right, well, here it is the next day. About half the morning's gone. I've got Ash and Kit here working on the scratching. I got all the initial body work done on the back of the sleeper. I still have some dents to do on the passenger door, and then I have all my glazing to do. But I'm breaking out of the shop right now so I can come out here and work on these. Here it is. Direct to metal. So we'll give that a shot and see how it goes. I'm trying to shoot it early enough in the day on an 80-degree day that this sits here and bakes out and is good and hard by tonight. But it's Sherwin-Williams, so there's a fair chance it's going to be sticky for 2 straight days. But I'm only doing it for this customer because this particular customer and I go way back. We go back a few decades, and this particular customer's done some gigantic favors for me. You see this property that I'm standing on? A couple acres. You see that shop right there? The center part of the shop. Not that addition, not that addition, the center part of the shop. This particular customer bought that shop for me in advance, and we exchanged a paint job on a rig and some other support trucks, like vac trucks and stuff like that, for him buying me this shop. And he bought me this shop in advance. And then of course they brought it to my house in Newcastle, 30 miles from here at the time, and it sat on the ground because I didn't know if I wanted to put it up there or up here, and it sat on the ground for 3 years there, and then I decided to put it up here, hauled it up here, and I put it up here, just the center section. Now the other 2 additions we built by hand with materials that we acquired, but he initially bought me this shop. And then he did the same thing with his property. I was at a time when I didn't have a pot to piss in, and he offered to buy this property. I found the awesome deal on this property, talked him down a long ways, and then they actually took my offer, and it shocked me because I didn't have any money. It's just I just shot a crazy offer out there. When they said, okay, we'll do it, I was like, oh crap, now I got to round up money. So I talked to this particular owner and said, hey, you know, can we do another deal like we did with the shop and just have some money up front in exchange, and I'll do more work in exchange for that money than I would have done for that money had the deal been normal. You know what I mean? So in other words, you know, say I borrowed $5,000, which I didn't. That's not the amount, but say I borrowed $5,000, I'm going to end up doing about $7,500 worth of work to make it worth your time, the interest. And so the money that he put forward, and he had this property in his name for, oh shoot, it was over 5 years. And I finally got it all paid off because times were tough, man. Times were tough. When you're relying on the oil field for basically your whole income. Ugh. Anyway, he finally brought me enough projects throughout the years that I painted them all and got it all traded off, and then he signed the property over to me. So this particular customer is the only reason I have that shop and this property. And so he gets away with the Sherwin-Williams deal. You can bring me Martin Sr., fine, but I'm still not shooting it on a truck. I'll shoot it on this thing that's going to go in your shop, and that is what it is. But, you know, I will definitely draw the line at a vehicle with Sherwin-Williams. But that's why we're going to use their product, and their product claims to be direct to metal, so we're going to give it a try. All right, well, at this point, I'm about ready to go. I got 2 identical porta powers, one right here to hold this up off of here so I can shoot up under there, and a red one right there that does the exact same job. And if I need to give them a couple more little pumps to get them up a little further, but I don't think I do. I think I've got enough room there to do it. And this right here, what you're going to see me do is you're going to see me paint this side first. This entire side, here, here, and here, and this edge. And then you're going to see me come over here before I do anything else. You're going to see me come over here and get a hold of this giant piece of I-beam and try and put it on its side. And if I can get that done, it's going to land on these bars right here on this rim, this little 1/2 inch or so rim. And so that's going to get slightly scuffed. That fresh paint that I just put on there is going to get slightly scuffed on the rim in a couple spots, which means that when we load this up on the trailer, we'll just have our can of paint out there, and we'll just touch it up with a brush in those 4 little spots and be good to go. Other than that, I've got no way to suspend this in the air while I paint it, and I don't want to paint it in 2 or 3 or 4 shots. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to paint this side here, and then you're going to see me flip this on its side. That way I can paint this side, the top and the bottom, all without incident. And the only victim is going to be, like I said, 4 tiny little spots on it, on that 1/2 inch edge. Now, I shot that hoist earlier today, and now it's mid to later afternoon. Turned the crew loose. They got a bunch of sanding done. They didn't do anything with the fenders, but they did sand the hood. They sanded the whole other side, the roof cap. They did all these rivets. Took care of all. You see how you see the shine on the door, but you don't see the shine in the rivets? That's all dull because it's all been scratched. So they left this door for me because I asked them to, because I still have to deal with all this corrosion. I've got the all the body work done, initial body work on the back, and I've got the first layer of glazing put on, but it hasn't been sanded yet. This is what it looks like when it goes on, and then I'll show you what it looks like after it's been sanded. And here's what it looks like after having been sanded. And here's the 3 panels, all glazed up and finished. There's the last one, glazed up but not sanded yet. So I turned the crew loose. This guy's all sanded, scratched. All the body work's done from front to back. All the glazing's done. All the little spots have been repaired. I've got that tarp right there that I'm going to throw over this. Same with this side. You see we peeled back all that, did a bunch of body work right there. Pulled that back until it was into good material again. And at this point, it's time to go ahead, get some primer mixed up, and get some primer on. Okay, got all this wet sanding primer applied to all the spots that I wanted to apply it. Looks the same down the other side. And now I'm going to spend what's left of my afternoon. I got to figure out exactly how I'm going to transport these and get them loaded on the trailer, you know, without messing them up. Okay, so I just went and found a box that some parts recently came in and unfolded it as much as I could, and then went ahead and made it double thickness. Made a spot back here so when the parts inevitably slide back into this, they'll just hit that. Again, that's double thickness. Even out here on the tip. And just some yellow electrical tape I had holding it all together. That should be enough padding to be able to lift these back up and transport them and set them back down without too much scuffing, I'm hoping. Alright, these guys are loaded. I don't think I scuffed them anywhere, not even in one spot. But I'll have a look and see and make sure. And other than that, they're loaded up. It's up to these guys to strap them down in a way that they feel that they'll be able to make it home with them. And now I'm on to my next activity here this afternoon. Well, okay, it's first thing here the next morning. This stuff had all night to sit and cure out pretty well, and today the goal is going to be to sand these fenders down, get them reprimed, and get them shot in blue, and to get this chassis all blown off and cleaned off, and get it painted or get it primed in black. Not painted in black yet, that'll be tomorrow, but primed in black today. Reprimed, painted in blue today. And that's all just for what I'm going to try and get done here in the early part of the day. With the rest of the day, I'm going to have 2 carports spread out, unpacked and all spread out so we can start assembling the second one. The first one's already half assembled. Get the second one assembled. We'll get them both in place. We'll get them both staked down and maybe even get some of the tin put on here this afternoon. Well, there's old shop foreman Kevin. Yep. Hey, buddy. Here checking up on the progress. Okay, now part of this process is going to be, I always check under the hood, make sure that these are good and tight, and they are on both sides. Everything's good and snug, nothing's cracked out or broke out, except for, again, it's been opened hard a few times, and it's turned the bottom side from a hole into a slot, probably an inch and a half long slot. So what I'm going to do is I already have the hood propped up. I'm going to go ahead and go up front, take out the bolt, get it out of there entirely, straighten it up in a vise. I'll bet it's bent. Go ahead and straighten it up in a vise, and then repair the hole. And then once that's all set up, go ahead and reinstall it. And sure enough, it's pretty darn bent. So I'll get it over to the vise, get it straightened up before I go ahead and reinstall it. And here, up underneath here, you can see it's been slotted pretty good. It's got this all busted up. I'm gonna go ahead and prep this whole area and put a good sized patch on it. Be good to go. All right, it's been 25 minutes or so. We'll go ahead and have a look. As you can see, patched up nice and solid. About 3-4 layers thick, depending on where you are at them, layered over each other. So in some spots it's maybe even 5 layers thick, but it's all been redone. Now I'm just gonna re-drill this hole and stab this guy through. Then we're done with this part of it. All right, that guy's tied up. Now we'll get on with the rest of this project. And here I am over at the other side of the property. It's been about an hour since I shot the fenders on that Kenworth. I've got my metal detector because there's a power cord that runs underneath here. And I want to make sure that of these 10 stakes, these tall stakes we're getting ready to drive, that none of them are going to be anywhere near that power cord. And then we're going to drive those stakes, and as you can see, the rest of it's all put together. And as soon as we get these stakes driven, we're going to go to the other side of the property and assemble the other frame. And then once those stakes are driven, then we'll look and see what we got for daylight, and we might start putting some tin on. And I'm going to use these clippers. I'm going to go ahead and snip those straps, get this all unpacked so we can start assembling it right here on this pad that I built, so we can get the stakes driven in it and see what we've got left for day. We might even get some tin on today. And now we've got the frame all set up and leveled out. We have yet to drive the stakes. We'll do that, and we'll probably call it a day there. Either way, that's a pretty good haul for the day, so that's as good a stopping point as any, I suppose. And just like that, it's first thing the next morning, and I'm back in the shop again. Now, this morning I'm going to do what I do every single time on these trucks. I'm going to go ahead and segregate off the fenders with some vinyl tape. And then when the crew gets here in a few minutes, they'll go ahead and mask up the fenders. And you probably know the drill by now. Once the fenders are masked up, we're gonna go ahead and sand everything that's been wet sand primed, get everything 100% ready to go, get it blown off, turn the guys loose. And then I'm going to prime the truck in white, paint the chassis in black, paint the truck in white, and then ever so carefully repaint the chassis in black. That's the goal anyway. We'll see how it goes. Okay, crew showed up, did their job, I did my job. Now we've got everything all blown off, 100% ready to go. Now I'm gonna go ahead and prime the cab, paint the chassis, paint the cab, then repaint the chassis. So, got that all shot yesterday. It's first thing the next morning. The first thing I'm going to do, as I'm sure you've seen in plenty of other videos, is I'm going to unmask these fenders first and make sure that came out okay. And if that came out okay, by then the crew will have walked through the door. We'll go ahead and unmask the fenders, get this guy put back together here first thing this morning. Well, that went perfectly well. Ash and Kid are going to be walking through the door here any second, and we're going to go ahead at that point, get this guy unmasked, get it all put back together here this morning so we can get it pulled outside and the owners can have it back. And I turned the boys loose because this guy's all buttoned up, ready to hit the road again. Let's go ahead and have a look. All right, here we have a 2005 Kenworth. When it showed up, it had the normal things that these trucks have. It had the fenders that had the mirrors mounted on it, and they wanted the mirrors gone. The emblems they've got back at their shop. About every other truck doesn't show up with emblems on it. The clear coat was coming off of the fenders, and they were cracked up in some spots. There was a crack or a bit of a tear inside where the hood opens and catches by the cable, where the cable stops it. It was torn a little bit, and I went ahead and repaired that little internal fiberglass repair. Not a real big deal, but it needed to be done. And here's the front passenger side chassis. Here's the front driver's side chassis. And then we had a series of dents up the passenger side door there. The back was normal amount of dents, normal amount of everything. Nothing unusual at all back there. Chassis was pretty hammered. Went ahead and sandblasted it. 2 coats of primer. 3 coats of paint. Because I do the 2 coats of paint and then I come back later after I've shot the cabin hood and I give it 1 more skim coat. So that's 3 coats. Back looks brand new again. This had some very weird corrosion on it, and then some dents above the corrosion that you couldn't even see until I started really digging into it. There were some dents down here and up here, but it had some very strange corrosion. Got rid of all that. As you can see, it looks like a brand new door. This truck is ready to hit the auction house. Well, all right, gang. Looks like we're all finished up with this one and on to our next incident. Hey, if you like this video, you should take the time to hit the like button. That's going to help me grow this channel. And if you want to see more of what goes on around here, you should check me out at Facebook at Flash Industrial Painting. And if you want to see more videos like this, or domestic auto body, or gardening, or art, or just what the heck goes on around here, well then you might as well just go ahead and hit the subscribe button while you're at it, because you know, we always got something going on. We'll see you guys around.